What's going on, everyone? So, everyone is talking about AI coding, vibe coding, and you know what? I thought it was boring. So, we can change this up by combining software and hardware. Well, what if your phone wasn't just a screen but a remote control for the real world? Well, today I'm combining React Native, Wi Fi, and a microcontroller to build a mobile app that controls real DC motors. One for speed, one for steering, just like an RC controller, but powered by a mobile app written in React Native. Well, this isn't just a simulator, it'll be an actual app. The app will be controlling physical hardware in real time. We're talking about joystick inputs, Wi Fi communication, motor drivers, and a phone app that actually moves things in the real world. If you have ever wanted to bridge the gap between software engineering and hardware hacking, well, this is exactly where it starts. And it doesn't stop here. You can take this to the next level. You can control a robotic arm, a robot, anything, you name it. You can take this concept and actually implement it. Well, so actually, let's get moving, let's build it, and let's go. All right, so first of all, let's check the Expo version. We can do npx expo dash dash version, and as you can see I'm on the latest SDK, which is 54. So the next thing we can do is maybe create the Expo project, and the way to do this is I'm going to do sudo npx. I'm going to do create Expo app at latest, like that, and we're going to give it a name. So I'm going to be like rc remote app dash yt. Now I'm doing sudo here. If you're doing this on Windows, you might not have to do that. But because I don't run my command usually at an elevated level, but what I'm trying to say is if you run this on Windows, you don't need this. But since I'm on Mac, I need to do this. Otherwise, the problem will be that it won't be able to create the folders or directories that it needs to. So that's the problem. Okay, so there you go. The project has been created and we can cd into it, and it's going to be rc, then it's going to be remote app yt, and boom, this is your project. Okay, so now that we have created the project, we're just going to open it in VS Code, and there you go, that's the project. And you know what, let's just run it and see if it will run. So I'm going to close this one and I'm going to close this. And what we can do is I'm going to maximize this, and then I can do, and just a lot of these things. Okay, so I'm going to do npx expo start. Okay, and then here is the local host, I guess. And if I show you guys, then here is the app that's running. Now for your phone, what you need to do is install the Expo Go app from the App Store or for the Android store. And then what you can do is you can basically scan it with your phone. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay, so you fire up the camera app and then you just come here and do this. And let's see. So there you go. So now your app is running in a browser and it's also running on your phone. So then what you can do is just quickly come here and maybe make a change. So you can come here to tabs, I can come here to index, and we can do basically this is sick. And let's save it. And as you can see, it got updated on my phone. And if I look at the browser, then this got updated. So that means we're in good shape. Actually, the project is running. We can run it on the phone, we can run it on the browser, and then we can now start changing files. We can also launch the simulator. It'll be a little bit easier to see the app. So as you can see, they're giving the instructions here for different devices. So I'm going to press the I button, and this should open the iOS simulator, hopefully. Okay, and as you can see, the simulator has launched and this da 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 da. So yeah, we can just press continue and just close this one. And let's see if I can maybe close this one and put them side by side. And if I make a change, I want to see if it will actually reflect here. So let's do this. So I can say this is sick, and I can maybe do welcome to RC app. We save it, and boom, there you go. So now we can actually code and we can see the changes live. So exciting. Okay, so now that we have that, what we need to do is we need to change this a bit. And we're not going to have tabs in this app. We're just going to have a plain kind of app. as you can say, because this is a technically a remote control, so we don't need to the tabs and stuff. Okay, so one thing I will do is maybe come over here, and then I can close this one, and let me see if I minimize all this. Okay, and let's see, so we have this parallax scroll and all that. I think we can get rid of all of this. So what I'll do is I'll take this file, I'll copy it, I'll come over here to the top app level, and I'm going to paste this file. And then what I can do is I can come over here, right click, and delete the tabs folder completely, move it to trash. Okay, so now we just have this. Okay, so now what we can do is I can come over here to the index file, and I can start making changes to this one. And then let me come over here and maybe just take all of this. That code was here initially, and I can honestly just get rid of this one. I don't need all of this. I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna save it. Of course, that's all gone. And then also I don't need this header image. Let me see, so this one is here. I can just get rid of this as well. We're going to simplify this. Okay, so we're going to have, of course, errors because we need a child and all that, but we can add that. So what I will do is I'm going to add the safe area view here, and let's just come over here and make sure we can change this one. So I'm going to do safe area view, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so now at least that error is gone, and we're seeing this one. And for the safe area view, we need some sort of a style. So we're gonna do that. So then I can actually come here, and I can take all of these and just get rid of this one, so we can create new styles for us. So first I'm gonna create the container, and then it's gonna be flex one, and I don't need these. But what I do need is I need a background. So it's going to be background like that, and we're going to do a background color. And what I'm thinking of, I have a specific kind of color that I chose for this, and it's going to be like a dark blue. It's kind of futuristic theme. So what I can do is I can do a hash, and then 071 and 026. Okay, so that's what I'm after. So I'm going to save this one. You're not going to see this yet because I haven't applied the styles yet, so let's apply that. So if I come over here, and then what I can do is I can do, let me just get rid of this one, and I can do, yeah, style that container. Let me save it, and that's what I'm talking about. So one thing I would like to mention is, keeps doing that, I just stop. Anyway, so one thing I'd like to mention is I don't want to be typing these styles like every time because this is just CSS. Okay, so now the next style we need is for the header. And then I will come over here, and I can do header like so. And then what we do in the header is we need a flex direction, and flex direction is going to be row, so horizontal. And then what I need is justify content, and I'm going to do space between, right? And then what I need is align item center, and I'm going to give it some padding. So that's that. So let me just close, sorry, save this one. And then what we can do is we can come over here, and then inside the safe area view, let me close this one. What I can do is I can create the view for the header. So I can do view, and then style is going to be header, and boom, like that. Okay, so now of course we need to put some content over in here. And for now, let me see if I can just do like, so let's save it. So I need to create another style, and then that style is going to be called connection. So we need to have a connection status, and then what I can do for that is row center, and then we need to do close this off like that. So I'm going to save this one, and then we can come over here, and then I can create that here. So let me close that, and I can do something like this, and it's going to be connection status, and boom, like that. So let me close this one. So it cannot find view because it needs to import that. So I don't know why it didn't import that. So let me come over here and do this, and it's coming from React Native like that. Okay, we are in good shape. Okay, so now we have a connection status, and we have a header. Okay, so as I said, I don't want to type these CSS because honestly, these are just normal CSS, but I'll explain them. So I'm going to paste them anyways, and I'm going to save it. So what we have is a status dot. The status dot is like a green or blue, and to show like are we connected or not. And it's going to have a width of 8, height of 8, and all that. And then we have a status text. the basically whatever the text we're going to show, like connect or not. And then for the button, and then we have that's the setting button, and then the content, and the title, and then the control. As you can see, these are just simple CSS classes. Nothing fancy here. Sorry, attributes. So nothing's fancy here. It makes it easy for me to code, actually, the main thing, because I need to keep scrolling, write these, and then do that. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, so now we can move on to here. And then inside of this connection status, what I can do is I can create another view. It's going to be a lot of views, actually. And that's going to be a style the status dot, and then what I can do is going to have a background color, but for now I'm going to give it a background color of, let me close this one like that. I'm going to give it a background color of green for now. Okay, it cannot bring text, so let's see why. See if we can bring it from React Native and save it. Okay, we have an error, and that error is because, why do we have too many? I have this view. Okay, so I think I have, oh, the self-closing, sorry, I forgot this one. So let me save this one. And okay, so nothing is happening at this point. One thing, by the way, we need to do is this app needs to run in landscape mode, right? Because it's a remote control. So for that, we can come over here to app.json, and instead of portrait, I can do landscape. I'm going to save this one, and then one thing you can do is, if you want to reload the app, just hit the R key, and boom, there you go. So now, as you can see, the app is running in a landscape mode, and here is connected. That's pretty cool. I'm thinking, should I? Okay, so if I close this one, it's gonna be a problem. I don't know, let me see, can I just do this? I think we'll just leave it at that. Maybe run it like this, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so I think it's upside down. All right, cool, that's cool. Okay, so I don't know, what do you guys think? Should I go back to portrait, save it and see what happens? So let's reload. Okay, so we are here. I think we'll leave it at that. In the end, when we have the other controls, we can switch to landscape. But anyways, you get the idea. Okay, so we just can come over here, close this, and we can get cracking at the other stuff. Let me close this one. Okay, so this one, we can just say connected like that. What we need to do is we need to create a couple of states here so that, we can monitor the connection status and all that. So first of all, let's come over here to the top, and then what I can do is I can say const, and then I can do is settings visible, and then set is setting variable. So this will be the settings model. And okay, so how about I do like use state from React? Okay, so that's one. The other one we need is for speed. So I'm gonna do speed, set speed. Okay, so the next one then we need is, we need one for the steering. So I'm gonna do steering set. Okay, and then we need also one for a sensitivity. So now sensitivity is like, how sensitive is the steering? Is it like too sensitive, or is it like not too sensitive? That's what it is. Okay, so I think I made spelling mistake. Let me fix that. Okay, next up we need one for dead zone. So I'm gonna do const dead zone, and then we're gonna do set dead zone like that. And then what we can do is, so dead zone is, say you move the joystick, but if you're within a certain say space, you don't want to be executing the commands in that area. So we're going to do use state, and it's going to be like, say 0.1, so maybe like a 10% dead zone. That's what we have. Okay, so that basically is what we have for this one. Now I'll create one more, but this will need, I'm going to do a to do. This will need to be a context. But for now, so that we can get the UI done, I can do like is connected, set is connected. Okay, and then for this one, for now, I'm just going to do false. But as I said, once we do the context and then do the provider thing, then we can hook it up at that point. So now I can come over here, and where were we? Right over here, I can change this one. And what I can do is I can come over here and I can do like this, is connected. If it's connected, then we can do connected. And then here you want to show the IP address, right, which we're gonna get. Otherwise, we're just gonna do disconnected. Okay, so let me save it and see what happened. Boom, there you go. As you can see, word disconnected is false, so it's disconnected. One thing there's a problem is this should be red. So this is where we can use this one. So maybe what I can do is connected, then green. Otherwise, we can do red. Let's save it and see what happens. Not this, so let me close this one. And there you go. So now, once we get connected, so if I set this to true, say, let's say we connect, and let's see this one, I can come over here and maybe reload. Boom, so that's connected. And if we're not connected, which will be the case, I'm gonna save it. I don't know why this one doesn't do live on this one. Anyway, so it's disconnected. Pretty cool. Okay, so now that we have that, maybe instead of the green and this one, we can pick some better colors. So how about a little bit bright? I can do hash 00FF41, and then for the for the red one, I think I missed maybe something. FF, right? That's what I wanted. And then for the red, I can do hash, I can do FF3B, and then I can do 30. I'm gonna save this one, and that's what you have. It's kind of bright red. Cool. So let's come over here, and then what I can do is I need to add a button that when pressed will open the settings view or model, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then the way we can do this is I can come over here, and then I can add a something called touchable opacity. So this is where you want to get like a touch kind of action, and then we can add the ION, the icon. Okay, so this is not coming. So let's see, we need to bring it up. And this one can come from, we can do import, and this one will be IO and icons, ion icons basically. Did it bring it? No. And it's going to be from at expo vector icons. Okay, so we have this one. We can give it a name, the icon that we want to use, and then it's called settings outline, like that. And then size, I'm going to give it a size of 24, and then we're going to give it a color of, say, white. It's going to be FFF. Okay, so that's this icon. And then let's see, so we have, I think, an error, and that's because of this. Let's save it. Okay, so there you go. Here's your icon. Pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, so it doesn't do anything yet. So how about we maybe give it some more attributes? Okay, so for style, what I can do is I can do styles dot, and this one will be settings button. Okay, so I'm going to save it. There you go. You got a nice background. And then what we can do on press. Okay, we want to execute some action. And this will be set settings. Set is setting visible to true, like so. And then we also want to give it an accessibility label. And let's see, accessibility label will be open settings. Cool. So when I press this, of course nothing's going to happen. So what we need to do is we need to add that model that when we open, we can see settings. All right, so let's create the settings sheet. So I'm going to come over here to my sidebar, open components, so we can create a new file, and then I'm going to call this a settings sheet.tsx, like so. So let's close this, and then what we can do is create a React component, and then we can do basically call it settings sheet, like that. Okay, so that's that. It's going to take a couple of props, so how about we do that first? So I'm going to create an interface, and it's going to be settings sheet props. Okay, and then first thing we want to do is give it a visible prop, and this is going to be a boolean. Then the next one we need is on close, so this is a callback function, and then going to return a void. Then the other one we need is a sensitivity, like so. And then what we need is set sensitivity. Okay, this is a function. It's going to take a value that's going to be of type number, and then it returns nothing. So, and then we also need a dead zone, and this is also a number, and then we need set dead zone. And then this, I think dead zone is like this. Okay, and this one takes a number, and then it returns nothing. Now that we have that, then what we can what we can do is we can come over here and we can actually just do like this, props, and we need to now add these here. So I can do like visible, and then on close, and then sensitivity, set sensitivity, and then we need dead zone, set dead zone, and these are our props. Okay, so now they are grayed out because we're not using them. So how about we actually use these? Okay, so let's come over here to next line, and then I can create a state, and it's going to be IP address, set IP address. So a user can actually enter the IP address of the server here, and it's going to be a use state, and it's going to be blank. Then the other thing we need is also the connection context. So again, we are using this again, the connection context. I think we should create that so that we can start utilizing it. But what I can do here is I can create a function, and it's going to be const and handle connect. So let's say you come over here and you do a connection. This will be an async. Okay, we don't run this on the main thread. So what we can basically do is write code to connect, disconnect. Okay, so that's something for us, a mental note. So now I can come over here to the bottom, and then we can start adding a model. Yeah, this coming from React Native, like so. And then I can come over here and I can do first of all visible, and as you can see, visible is coming from here. Okay, and then animation type, animation type will be slide. It's going to slide, it's going to be a nice animation style. And then we also want to do a presentation style, and this is going to be a sheet. We want to present this as a sheet, and then on request close, we want to call the on close. I'm going to save this. Now there's a couple of styles that needs to go with this view, and as I said before, I don't intend to type these. So what I can do is I can just paste them from my notes, and but what they are is, okay, so style sheet, we need to bring in style sheet, and style sheet is coming from React Native, like so. Okay, so it's a container basically, and then we have a flags, we have a background color, we have a header for the model, a title, a close button, the content, and that's all we have. So it's just CSS attributes. If you know web development, basic web development, that's all we're trying to do. There's nothing special here. Okay, so I'm going to save this one, and we can come over here and let's get cracking. So the first thing we can do is add the safe area. Let's see, safe area view, and it's coming from here, and then it's going to take a style, and it's going to be styles.container. Okay, so that's our safe area view. I wonder if we should maybe come over here at this point and show the model to see if at least we can see it and stuff. But maybe we can add a text here first. So I can create a view, and it's coming from React Native, and it's going to be style, and then the style will be header. So it's going to be styles.header. All right, and then we can add a text. Okay, it's coming from React Native, and then the text we want to do is style it, and then the style will be styles.title. Okay, and what do we want to call it? Well, you guessed it, settings. I'm just going to call it settings. Okay, so I think before I do that, I need to add a button to close it. Otherwise, I won't be able to close the, what do you call it, the model. And as you guys saw before, we can use the touchable opacity for that. And then I can do touchable opacity. It's come from React Native, and then I can add an icon, and it's going to be the same icon. Okay, and then the name is basically close icon. Size is 24, and then color, I'm just gonna make it FFF. All right, cool. So this is that. And then we want to associate some actions to this one, like when you press the button, what happens, so that we can see some action. So on press, I'm going to do the on close. We're going to call that, and I want to give it a style, and then the style will be styles dot close button. All right, and then accessibility label, and then it's going to be close settings. Cool. So let's see if we can actually show this now. Currently, when I press this, nothing happens, and that's because we're not bringing in the model actually. So why don't we bring in? So right here, where it says other components go here, then what I can do is I can say settings sheet. There we go, and then we can give it the visible, and then the visible be is setting visible, right? And then how about I do dead zone, and then this will be, let's see, set dead zone, and it's going to be set dead zone. Okay, and let's see, can I just close this one like that? Okay, it's complaining because we don't have the other variables. I mean, what do you call it, the other, let's see, why is it complaining that because we need to provide the other attributes or props, sorry. Okay, so let's come over here and I can do on close, and then this will be close settings. Actually, we can just do this. Set is setting visible to false. We can do that. And then we also need the sensitivity. So this will be sensitivity. And then set sensitivity. It's going to be set sensitivity. Okay, what happened? Sensitivity like that. And then we have dead zone. And let's see. Yeah, we need to do dead zone is equal to dead zone. I think I should do this. Dead zone. The Z or Z should be like this. So let's save it. Okay, the errors are gone. So if I close this, boom. All right. Isn't that cool? So now our settings is working and it's a sheet. How cool is that? Okay, so let's go to here. And how about we add now the different text boxes, whatever. Okay, so what we can do is after the header, right after this, now we can add the, say, like a scroll view, I should say, and this is where we can put the actual settings. So let's scroll up, and then I can do scroll view, come from React Native, and then it's gonna have a style, and it's gonna be style.content. Okay, I think scroll view like that. So let me just bring this on the next line, and I'm gonna save this one. All right, so what do we put in here? Well, we can put a view, and then that view, we're gonna give it a style, lots of styles here. And then this will be settings item, okay? That setting item, like so. And then I can put in a text, and then this will have a style as well. And then it's gonna be style dot setting label, like that. Okay, I need to put the equal sign, forgot that here. And let's see, so this will be RC car IP address. So if I save it, boom, there you go. So that's your label. All we need to do is now capture the text input. So for that one, we can use the text input. Okay, and it's going to have a style, and then that style will be style.text input. Let's see, styles.text input. And then what we need also is a value. The value will be, say, IP address. Okay, and then on change text, okay, what do we do? Well, set IP address. Set IP address. We just call our state. And then how about a placeholder? So we want to kind of guide the user. And then this would be, say, like 192.168.0.1. Okay, and then what you want to do is placeholder text color. And this one, I have a color, and the color is this one, and then 666. It's kind of like dark grayish kind of color. Okay, and then we want this to be numeric. So what we can do is we can do keyboard type, so that when you launch the on-device keyboard, it's like numeric, kind of making it easy for you. That's what it is. Okay, so let's, why is this one complaining? Okay, there we go. So let's save it, and boom, that's what I'm talking about. So on the simulator, you don't get the keyboard, and yeah, see, that's working. But on the actual device, it will show up. So there's, I don't know why the simulator doesn't show, but anyways, so we're just gonna leave it like that. Okay, so that's our text input. And now it's the idea basically the same. We basically kind of have to repeat this for the other settings. Okay, and then after this one, say you put the IP address, the next logical step is to basically, let me format this a bit. The next logical step is to, what do? Well, you connect, right? So the way we do this is we're going to do a touchable opacity, okay? And then style for this one, I'm going to have a style.connect button, style.connect button. And then on press, what do? Well, we do handle connect. We'll call that function that we created. Okay, and inside of this, I'm going to put a text. And then for this one, the style is going to be styles.button text. Okay, and then what we do inside of here is like this, is if connected. Do we have is connected? Oh, actually, no, we don't, because we still haven't done this one yet. Let's see. Yes, so for now, what I can do is const, I can do connected is connected use state, and I'm going to just set it to false. I think I should do this next so we can use it. Anyway, so here, what I can do is I can do is connected, and then we can do this connect, otherwise connect. So the idea is if you're connected, you can disconnect and things like that. Okay, so why is this one not complaining? Let's see. Let's see, is connected. Sorry, it should be connected. Like so, it's a state. Okay, so so that's what I'm talking about. So you have this button. So if I was connected, it will say disconnect, but that's the idea. So anyway, so that's that button, and then we can also have a connection message. So for now, what I can do is I can say, so later on we can come in and fill this out. Okay, after this view, what we need is we need another view for, say, the sensitivity. So I'm going to create a view, and that's going to be the same kind of thing, style.settings item. All right, and let's save it, and nothing's going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to add a text, and I'm going to give it a style, and then the styles will be styles.setting label like we did above. Okay, and then this will say sensitivity. So that's what we have. Okay, and then what I can do is I can basically do, whoop, not this way, I meant to do it this way. Okay, and then I can do like this, close this off. Okay, so I can do sensitivity times 100 to fixed. Okay, like so, and then this will say percentage. Oop, not here, it should be here. So sensitivity is a percentage. That's what we're trying to do. So remember, it was 0.8, right? So it's 80% basically. We're saying sensitive, not 100%. Well, that's the idea. Okay, so then after the text, what we need is, of course, to capture the sensitivity, the new value. So it's going to be the same kind of deal. We have a text input, we have a style, and then style.text input. And then we need a value. So the value is what? Sensitivity dot to string. Okay, and then on change text. Okay, so what happens when we change the text? So we have this callback function, and what we do is we do something like this: const value is equal to, and remember we need to parse it because this is a string, so we need to parse it. So we can do math.max, okay, and then 0.1 to math.min. So this is a classic way of basically, how should I say, containing a value, and then we can do parse float. All right, and then it's going to be text. Otherwise, if you cannot just parse it, then 0.1. Okay, so that will take care of that. And then what we can do is we can do set sensitivity to this value like so. Okay, so then finally I can close this one, I can save it, and boom, that's what you have. And I can do like a placeholder text, I don't know, 0.8. And then the same idea, I'm not going to type this, but I can just copy this here, and let's see, we can paste this here. But for this one, instead of the numeric, what you can do is decimal pad, and the decimal pad will have the decimal icon when you click on it. So this is for sensitivity. Then the next one we need is for the dead zone. The dead zone is the same exact thing, so there's no point in typing it, but it'll be wise to just paste it. So I can come over here, and let's see, can we just arrange this, boom, like so. So it's the same thing, We have a view, we have a text, okay, and then we have a text input. We do the same kind of deal, parse it, and then save it. So there you go. So this is your settings now. So now we can actually enter the sensitivity, we can enter the dead zone, and we can launch our beautiful settings view. So now I think we will move on to the next one. Now, okay, I think at this point we should create a connection service that then we can use to connect to the server. So for that, what we can do is we can come over here and create a new folder, and I'm going to call it services, like so. And then within this one, I'm going to create a new, say, file. We're going to call it connection service tsx, like that. This is not tsx, so this will be a ts file, because we're not doing any UI stuff, so that's why. Okay, so let's close this one, and then this will be a class. So I'm going to do export class, and that's going to be connection service. All right, and that's going to have a couple of private properties. So I'm going to do private, and it's going to be static instance. So this will be a singleton, meaning we don't want to be keep creating these instances. We just create one and use it throughout the app. Okay, so it's going to be an instance, and it's going to be of type connection service. So that's one. Then the other one we need is a private, and it's going to be is connected, and then this will be a boolean, and then default is false. Then the other one we need is the IP address, so it's going to be private, and then what we can do, we can say current IP. It's going to be of type string, and it's blank. And finally, we have something called a socket. So this will be a web socket, and it's going to be of type web socket, and otherwise null. So this is just to kill any errors. I'm doing that null thingy. Okay, so this is basically your properties of this connection service. And for those who don't know, I mean, it's private because we don't want anyone outside to get access to these. Okay, so we then create a static method. It's going to be called get instance. We need to somehow get an instance of this service, and it's going to return a connection service, like so. So then we can do like this: if not connection service dot instance. If you don't have an instance already, then what you can do is you can do connection service dot instance is equal to new connection service. Okay, and then you can do return connection service dot instance. So the idea is this: say someone calls this, so first we check if you don't have an instance. Let's say the first time, it's gonna come over here and it's gonna create one. Okay, it's going to create one, and then it's going to return it. So let's say when you call it the next time, it's just going to give you the same instance. So that's how it works. Okay, so next thing we need is a connect method. So it's going to be connect, and this will take an IP address, and it's going to be of type string, and then it's going to have this method called progress. This is going to be optional, and then this will basically return a message to us. It's going to be of type string, and it returns void. Now this method itself, it returns a promise, okay, of type bool, type boolean, like that. Okay, so then it's going to be promise, like so. Okay, so it's complaining because we are, yeah, it's we need to return that. Okay, so we're going to put this in a try catch. I'm going to scroll up so we can see what's going on. And so let's say the first thing when we call this, we're going to call this on progress, and we're going to do connecting to server. So that makes sense. Let's finish the catch. Okay, and the catch will be error, error. Okay, and then what you want to do is on progress, you want to call this one, and then we can do basically connection error. Okay, and then I can do this dot is connected is equal to false, and you want to return something, so I'm going to do return false. Okay, so that will basically, if there's an error, then you basically just call the on progress, say connection error, so we can show that in the UI. And then maybe we can also do like this console.log error. Okay, so this will satisfy this. Okay, so I'm going to save this one. Of course, it's not going to work. We still need to return something here. And then what we can do here is I can come over here and I can do this dot the socket. Let's create a web socket. We're going to do new web socket. Okay, we want to connect now to the outside entity. The way you do this is you're going to do this web socket. Okay, and then you provided the IP address, and I'm going to connect on port 81. Okay, so that's that. And then we're going to create a new promise, so the outside, whoever is calling this, they can wait on this. Okay, we're going to create a new promise, and then what we have is a resolve. Okay, all right, so what do we do here? Okay, so first we create a timeout function, and the timeout is necessary to prevent the connection from hanging indefinitely. Otherwise, you're just gonna get it, you'll be stuck in this indefinite state, you will never get out. So for this one, you create a timeout kind of function, and we call this set timeout. Okay, and then we want to give it a time of say 5 seconds. So 5,000 milliseconds. Okay, one thing you guys notice is sometimes I put semicolons, sometimes I don't. It's just a habit. Okay, so what we can do is we can take the socket and you want to close it. So close the socket, right? Gracefully, hopefully. And then on progress, we call it on progress, and then you want to do connection. So let's say you try to connect to the server and then there's no response. You want to just close everything. Okay, and we want to give it 5 seconds. You don't want to wait longer than that. Then I can do false. Okay, and then I can do resolve false. So you just want to call the promise and saying, you know what, things didn't work out. Okay, so that's our timeout. So let me just spread this out a little bit like that. The next one we need is this dot WebSocket dot on open. Okay, so let's say the socket is open. So what we do is we're going to do a clear timeout, and then we're gonna give it the timeout function like that. And then, okay, why is it, oops, I think it should be this one. So this one means like we know it's good. Okay, and then so we have a clear timeout and then on progress. Okay, and then I can do connected successfully. All right, and this dot is connected will be equal to true. All right, and then also this dot current IP is equal to IP address that's supplied, and then we can do resolve true. Okay, so whoever's waiting, they can actually move on. Okay, so this is the unopened. We also need one for error, and then let me just scroll up. So for this one, I can do the on error. Okay, and then I can come here and we can do, okay, so if we have an error, of course, clear the timeout. Clear timeout, you can do timeout, and then on progress, I can do basically connection failed like that. And then also this dot is connected is equal to false. And then finally, I can do resolve false. Okay, so this is the connection method, right? So connect. Okay, so now we also need one for disconnection. Somebody wants to disconnect, how are they going to do that? So for that, we can come over here and we can do disconnect. Okay, so disconnect is simple, returns a void, and then all we do is take the WebSocket and we close it basically. Okay, and this dot, so make sure to set this to null. Okay, and okay, and then also this dot is connected is false, and then this dot current IP, so we're going to set this to empty, and that's it. So this will be the disconnect method. Now we need two more commands, and these are for sending a command to the server, so the RC car, whatever you want to call it, for speed and all that. So it's going to be send command. Okay, and then we need a speed. It's going to be a number, and then steering, so this will be a number as well, returns nothing. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, first of all, we check if we first we need to check if we're connected, right? So let's say if we're not connected, or not this dot, or we don't have a socket, then return, right? There's no point moving forward. So then if everything is good, we compose a message, and we're going to send it as JSON. It's going to be json.stringify. All right, and we're going to send basically speed. Okay, and speed is going to be a number. Okay, and this is going to be speed to fix to 2 decimal points, and then we're going to do steering, and it's going to be the same thing, number, and it's going to be steering to fix 2. Okay, so there's an error that because I missed this one. Okay, so that's the message, but we're still not sending the message yet. We're going to do WebSocket dot send. message. Boom, there you go. So this is how we're going to send messages to the remote end. It's going to be a robotic arm, could be anything. Okay, and finally, we need something to get the connection status. We can do connection status. Okay, and this will return is connected, which is a Boolean, and then IP address string. Okay, like that. And we can do return, and let's see, what is it going to return? Is connected is going to be this dot is connected. Okay, and then IP address is going to be this dot current IP, like that. Okay, and then what we need to do is we need to do this. Okay, I think I need to do just like this. Okay, so this is, remember, we're doing this because these are private. So if you want to expose it to outside world, we can do it this way. Okay, so this is the connection service, and then now we can create the context. Okay, now let's create the context that we can wrap the whole thing around and all that. So I'm going to come over here and create a new folder. We're going to call it context. Okay, within it, I'm going to create a new file, and it's going to be connection context.tsx, like so. So let's close this one, and then we can get cracking. And then I can do RFCE like that. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, save it. Okay, so this one is going to be an export function. Then I don't need this. I'm going to get rid of this one later. Okay, and then what we do is we need to create an interface. So I'm going to come over here and I can do interface, and it's going to be connection context props, like so, and it's going to be, let's say, connected. It's going to be of type Boolean, then IP address. Okay, and this is going to be type string. Then we need a connection message. It's going to be type string, whoop, like that. And then we need a connect method. Okay, it's going to take an IP of type string, and then it returns a promise, and then that's going to be a Boolean. You guys remember how we did the service? So yeah. Okay, and then finally a disconnect. The disconnect is basically takes nothing, return nothing, like that. Okay, so that's that. Then what we need is over here, we're going to create a const connection context. It's going to be create context. Okay, so that's coming from, well, okay, context. That's coming from React. We're going to do like that. It's going to be of create context type. Okay, I think maybe I should have done type instead of prop. So this should be of this type. Okay, and then it's going to be undefined, like that. So now it's going to complain. So what you want to do is you want to come here and you want to do this. So that'll fix that problem. Let me come over here, and also I want to make this camel case because we have this connection context. Okay, so now we're going to give it children, and children, whatever we want to, I don't know, render. And then children is of type React node, like that. Okay, so now we have that. So then what you want to do is you want to get rid of this, and then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then immediately I can do connection context dot provider. Okay, and then I can come here and I can do connection context provider, and then we can render the children. Okay, so now it's complaining that what's provider. Okay, so one mistake I made, this should be connection provider, and this is the context. So remember, when you have a context, right, you have a provider, and that's basically providing a context, I guess. Okay, so then we have the connection connection context, the provider. Okay, so of course it's gonna need a value. Okay, and then that value is, we're gonna expose is connected, IP address, connection message, connect the method, and then disconnect. So we're exposing this to the outside world so that they can have access to this. So now it's complaining about no value exists, that's fine. We can take care of that. Okay, so I can come over here and I can do like this, is connected. I can do set is connected. Okay, and then this will be a use state. Okay, it's coming from React. It's going to be false. I'm going to save this one. So as you can see, this one is gone. So yeah. Okay, so the next one is the IP address. I'm going to copy this one. IP address, and then this one will be like this. Okay, and then we need one for the connection message. So no need to type it. We can just copy and paste it, like so. Cool. So now that we have this, we need to take care of this connect and disconnect method. Okay, so first of all, let's format everything. Okay, now we need to get a hold of the service, remember, that we created. So the way we can do this, we can do const, we can do connection service is equal to connection. Remember, that's the one, connection service, and then we created this get instance. Now we can use it. So now we have a connection service, we can use it. So I can do then connect is equal to async. Okay, and it's going to take an IP address, that's string, returns a promise of type boolean. Okay, and what do we do inside of here? Well, we need to come over here and we can do like this. Success is equal to await. Okay, and it's going to be connection service dot connect, and then we provided the IP address, and then we can have a callback function so we can get the progress notifications, and then we can do set connection message to message like that. Okay, so that takes care of this one. And then also we need to do like this, if success, right? If you're successful, and then we can do set is connected to true. Okay, and then set IP address to IP like that. Otherwise we scroll up first, and then we do set is connected to false. Let's say the connection dropped or something happened, then we can do set IP address to empty. Okay, and then finally we can do return success. Okay, so this will satisfy disconnect method, and then we need one for a disconnect so that this one is happy. And then we can do like this, const disconnect is equal to. Okay, and by the way, you're not seeing anything here because we're not utilizing this yet, but there's just some plumbing we need to do. So anyway, we need to do connection service dot disconnect, of course, and then we can do set is connected to false, and then we can do set IP address to like this. Boom. Okay, so now we have a nice context, and we have what do you call it? We have a context. Well, we need a hook to actually use this. Otherwise, there's no point. So we can do like this export function, and we can do use connection. All right, and we can do like this context is equal to use context from React, and then what kind of context? The connection context. Okay, and then if context is equal to undefined, okay, we need to do triple equal. Okay, and then you want to do throw new error. If this thing doesn't work, then there's a huge problem. So we want to do use connection must be used within a connection provider. So this is like a safety net. If someone uses this without the connection provider, then we want to tell them that you need to actually use this within the, and I'm going to show you guys how we can do this, basically wrap the whole thing in the connection provider. Okay, and then return context. All right, today is a bad spelling day. Okay, so now that we have this, we can actually start using this. So the best way to use this would be if you come over to app, you come over to your main layout. So this is the main layout that basically everything kind of is here. So what you want to do is maybe at the very top, I can do connection provider. Okay, and there you go. So this will, the whole app now is going to be wrapped around, can have access to the connection. I can save it, and okay, so how about for good measures, I restart the app to make sure it still runs. Okay, it's still running. So actually let's use it. Let's use it to at least show this one. Remember how we use the state. So now it's a good time to come over here, and yeah, remember here. So actually let's use it. So I'm going to minimize this one. And the way we can do this is like this. So I can actually come here and I can do const is connected. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. So now we need to bring in this hook. Okay, and then is connected is tied to this one. So if I save it, it's working. I'm not getting any errors. And then remember the IP address. Yep, that's right. We can now actually do that. And since we're not connected, that's why I just said disconnected. So that's pretty cool. Okay, and then there was another place that I think was in the settings. So if I come here, minimize this and let's see. So this is the beauty of this provider, that we can just come over here and I can do like this, const, and then I can do connect, I can do disconnect. Okay, yeah, it's got the whole thing. I'm going to bring this on new line, and then I'm going to do, oh man, okay, I need to bring this in, so I'm going to do like this. Okay, so now that we have that, so that means that where we were hard coding this, I think we can, let's see. Okay, so there you go. So one thing we did not finish is this handle connect. So now is a good time to finish that also. So I can do like this. If we are connected, yep, then we disconnect. Otherwise, well, let's connect. That's pretty easy. Okay, and then we also need to use the connection message, and that will be right after this connect disconnect. So let's see right here. Remember, yeah, we added this. So what we can do is we can say, if we have a connection message, right? If it's present, then boom, show it. Otherwise, show null. So that's pretty cool. I like that. So if you have a connection message, then you show it. So if I hit connect, what happens? Yeah, it's gonna throw error. And let's see if I look at this one. Cannot property connect of undefined. Okay, interesting. Let's reload this one and see what happens. Come here, try to hit connect. Okay, click on this one, see what happens. So connect, cannot read property connect of undefined. So that means that in the connect method, so that, okay, so here's what's happening. So when I hit the connect button, it's calling this handle connect, and it's calling this one. So let me come over here, and that's going to use connection. That's coming here, and that's actually calling this connect method right here. I think that's what this guy's talking about. Success, yep. Okay, so connection service is okay. So it looks like it is saying that cannot read property connect of undefined. So this is undefined. That's what it's trying to tell us. Okay, why is that? So how about I go here and let's see. How about we add a console.log and see what happens in the console. If I come over here and if I hit this, do we get that message? Getting connections instance. Okay. And how about we do, yeah, this. So let's see if it's undefined or actually there's some value. So if I come here and I do, okay, it's undefined. Okay, so the thing is undefined. Why is that? How about I do it after console? Okay, so let's say this was before undefined, so after should be correct, right? Okay, so let's hit this one. I mean, I don't have an IP address, so that's already a problem, but let's see. So what happens? At least I should get the service, right? Okay, so connection service. I come here. Okay, so this is the first time it called this getting connection service, and then instance is undefined. Interesting. For some reason, it's not giving me the connection service instance. And there's one mistake we made. Is this should be, if we don't have one, then create it. Oh, stupid. Okay, let's try this again. So if I hit connect, okay, it didn't throw any errors at this point. Okay, there you go. Now we have a this instance return. So I'm going to close this one, I'm going to save it. So one thing we should do is, let's see, connecting to server, that's the message. So maybe one thing we can do is, if we don't have an IP address, if IP address is empty, right? Then what we do is invalid IP address and return false. Okay, so let's see if this will work. I need to reboot this. Okay, so let's come here and say connect. Okay, why this button grows, I don't know. So let's come over to settings and let's see, why did we put the thing inside the button? I think the text is too big. Okay, so let's see here. You see the problem? I put this inside of here. I need to take this out of here and maybe put it here, save it. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, and the status message, I mean, that's okay. We can live with that. Okay, anyway, so that works. So, I can press this and it will return a proper message. I don't know if you already had that, but I think this is pretty good. Okay, so now we can actually give a connection service. We have it's tied to the app. We can actually now properly use the socket, and we can move on to the next step. Okay, so all right, so now we're gonna move on and create the joystick. But before I do the joystick, what I would like to do is come over here to the, say, settings, the app.json, and I'm gonna change this to landscape. Okay, I'm gonna save this one, and you want to reload the app for this one. There you go. So now we can see the joysticks when we start coding. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. I'm going to come over here to components, and we can create a new file, and I'm going to call it joystick.tsx, like so. And then we can create the React component, and boom. Okay, so what do we need here? Well, we're going to create an interface. So I'm going to come over here, and we're going to create an interface, and it's going to be joystick props. I think this should be joystick like this, not, yeah, okay. And then I can just come here, do joystick, okay, to be consistent. Okay, so then what do we put inside of here? So we'll be using this same joystick for the what do you call it, for speed and for direction. So first we need a function. It's going to be on value change, okay, and it's going to be x number and then y number, and then it will return nothing. Then we need a label, it's going to be string, and then we need a direction. So a direction can be vertical, horizontal, or both. Okay, so this is your interface. So then we can come over here to this function, and then I can basically do like joystick props, and then we can do the label, direction, and on value change. Okay, cool. So now we can start using these. So the joystick uses the React Native gesture controller, sorry, handler for multi-touch support, because we need dual touch. So that's why you guys will see how we can do this. So first, what we need to do is we need to create this variable, translate x. Okay, and this is going to be use shared value from React Native reanimated. Sorry, React Native reanimated. Okay, and this will be set to 0. And then we also need a translate y, and it's going to be shared value, and it's going to be 0. Okay, so const like so. Okay, forgot n here, so let's put that here. Okay, then what we need is a pen gesture handler that we're going to use later on. So we can create it here. So I'm going to do const pen gesture is equal to gesture. Okay, so let's see if it'll bring it. There you go. So gesture dot, and then I'm going to do pen. Okay, and then what we need is we need the simultaneous with the gesture. And then what we need is, so this is the one that's going to enable the multi-touch. And then we need an update method like that, and then this is going to return an event for us, and we can utilize it. Okay, so this will have two properties. Let's destructure them. So it's going to be a it's going to be, let's do like this. How about if I do event, and then I can come here and I can do translation x and translation y. Okay, so we have these two properties destructured, and then what we can do is we need to contain the joystick within a certain radius. You don't want to be, you don't want you to move the joystick like far ahead. It's got to be within the circle, just like a real joystick. So what I can do is I can do const distance. You can use the distance formula. We're going to do math.square root. Okay, and then we're going to translation x. All right, and it's going to be just, and then I'm going to translation y, and that's going to be like that. Okay, so we're going to find the distance, and then what we need is a max distance. It's going to be max distance, and then I played around and 75 for the sweet spot. So it's kind of like half the joystick containers width. Basically, that's what it is. Okay, and then what we do is if distance is greater than max distance, okay, if we run out the boundary, then basically what you do is you normalize the vector. So I'm going to do translate x, translation x is equal to translation x, okay, divided by distance times max distance. And then I'm going to copy this one. We're going to come over here And let's see, I'm gonna put this here. So this one will be translation y, gonna be translation y, and then this will be same thing, max distance. Okay, cool. So then we can come over here. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. So we have more room. Okay, and then if I'm gonna do like this, if direction is equal to vertical, so this is for speed, okay, then translate y value is equal to translation y, okay. And then what you want to do is now you want to run this on the background thread. You can do schedule on run. So before this used to be run on JS, now that that's deprecated, so you have to use this one. Okay, so we're going to do on value change. We're going to call this one, that's the callback method. We're going to supply the value of 0 and translation y. Okay, so that's that. And then what we can do is else if direction is equal to horizontal. Okay, and then what you do in this one, well, in this one we're going to do the translate x dot value is equal to translation x. Okay, and then we're going to do the schedule on run, and then we do the on value change. Okay, and we're going to do translation x. Okay, and we're going to do 0. Okay, and then finally we need else, and then we're going to do, so now this is the both directions, right? And then we're going to do translate x dot value is equal to translation x. Okay, I'm going to copy. Okay, I think I should have fixed this one. Y, this should be y. Okay, sorry, oh, this is correct, sorry. Okay, and then I'm going to take this one and we can come over here and do like this. That's for the y value. And then finally we're going to do the schedule on run. We're going to do on value change. We're going to translate x, translation x, and translation y. Okay, so this takes care of the pen gesture. And then you also want to do on n. So that's when, like, if I lift my finger, what's going to happen? Okay, so ideally you want to the joystick should go back in their resting phase, right? That's what you want to do. So we're going to do reanimate basically. So we can do something like this, translate x dot value. Okay, and it's going to be with spring. Okay, so with spring is it'll be like a nice kind of bouncy feeling. If you just set it to 0, it's gonna like a harsh kind of effect. Okay, and then we're gonna translate y dot value is equal to with spring 0. Okay, so this will reset the joystick, and then don't forget to do the schedule on run to update the actual UI. Okay, I'm going to do on value change. We can do this. Yeah, pretty cool. So this takes care of the pen gesture. And then what we also need is an animated style for the joystick. To do that, we can do const animated style is equal to, we can use animated style. So do we have one? Yep, right here. Okay, and then I can basically return, okay, transform. Okay, so this will be an array, and then in here you can do translate x is equal to translate x dot value. Okay, and then you can do translate y is translate y dot value. Alrighty, okay, so this, now that we have the pen gesture and this animated style, we can actually start using it. Before I do that, we have some styles that we need to apply, and I'm just going to take them from my notes. But what we have is we're going to have an inner circle, okay, and then we're going to have the that's the joystick, that's the container, and then we can have the label, and then the joystick wrapper. That's what it is. Pretty simple, just two circles. Didn't come in. Just two circles, that's all. Okay, so then I can come here and start using it. So you can create a view from React Native, and it's going to be a view. Okay, and so let's give it a style. So what I can do is I can say style is equal to styles dot, and this is going to be the joystick wrapper. Okay, like that. And then we need a text. I'm going to use a themed text. Okay, and then style will be equal to styles dot joystick label. Okay, and then this will take the label. I'm going to save this one. Actually, what I can do is maybe use it so we can see it in action. So I'm going to go to index.tsx, and here we left this area so we can actually use it. So I can do joystick, okay, and then I can come here and utilize it here. Before we do this, what we need to do is wrap the whole thing in a gesture handler root view, otherwise the gestures won't be detected. So we can do gesture handler, and it's going to be root view. I'm going to give it a style, and it's going to be styles dot container. Let's see, do we have one? Yep. Okay, then you take the whole thing and then you can just put it here. I'm going to format this, save it, boom, done. And also on the layout.tsx, that's your main layout, the outer layout. You also want to wrap the whole thing in this gesture and the root view, and this is coming from React Native gesture handler. So that's very important. Otherwise the gestures won't be registered. Okay, so now that, where did it go? So now that I have this one, and we can actually start adding the joystick. Okay, so the first thing is create a view. Okay, it's gonna take a style, and then the style will be styles dot. Do we have one for controls? I think that's the one. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then within this, I'm going to first do the, say, speed. Okay, and then let me scroll up. Okay, so we can do joystick. Okay, and then it's going to take a label of, say, speed. Oh man. Okay, and then it's going to take a direction. The direction is going to be vertical. Okay, and then it's going to take a value change. So that's the callback function. We know we get two values, x and y, but we only need one. Okay, and then I think I should close this one. Let me save it, and boom. Okay, so of course we have an error, and let's see why we have an error. Let's see if I come here. Okay, I cannot resolve the da, 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 da. Let's see if I come here, joystick. Okay, this should be joystick. Okay, for some reason it's saying that it should be the uppercase. Okay, interesting. Will that work? Okay, so I think we can finish the joystick and add the rest of the stuff. So what we can do is I can come over here. I can minimize this one, and then after the theme text, what we need is a gesture detector, and then that's coming from here, and then the gesture is pane gesture, and that's the one we created. And then inside of it, we're going to create a view, and that is the joystick container. And then we are going to have the animated view that's going to take the joystick styles and then the animated styles. Now this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do animated, and it's coming from here. So let's save this one, and there you go. This is your first joystick. So as you can see, it's working nicely actually. So this is what we were talking about earlier, the bound. See how the bounded between this circle, you can say. So that's why, remember how the width and height is 150, and remember how we did here the max distance 75. So this is to contain the joystick. Pretty cool. So this is that. So now we're going to go back and finish the rest of the joystick code for the value change. So what we're going to do first is create a raw value, and that's going to be const raw value is equal to, and it's going to be the y over 50. And then this conversion actually transforms pixel-based measurements into a normalized scale. So that's why we do it this way. And then basically we're assuming a conversion factor of 50 pixels per unit. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to do const abs values. That's the absolute value. And for this one, we're going to do math.abs. All right, and we're going to do a raw value. Okay, and then what we do is we do like this. So this is their dead zone check. We're going to do like this: if absolute value is less than dead zone, okay, then set speed to 0. So the reason why we do this is, say you have fat thumbs like I do. If you put your thumb on the joystick, we don't want to just like execute right away, right? You want to give some kind of a little bit of leeway. Okay, so we basically return, we don't do anything. Now we're going to do a sensitivity scale. So this is, remember how we did the settings. So this will be customizable by the user. So we can do, let's see, sensitive value. Okay, and then this will be raw value into sensitivity. and then we can do let normalized value is equal to 0. We're going to initialize the normalized value. So this is for like direction mapping, up and then down. Okay, so we do like this: if sensitive value, okay, is less than 0, right? So then what we do is we say normalized value. Actually, it should be normalized. This should be normalized speed, not value. I mean, you can call it that, but since we're dealing with speed, that's why it's better to call it that. So we're going to do like this: if sensitive value, sorry, I mixed this up. This should be speed. This should be value. Yeah. Okay. So what we do is this: we say if sensitive value is less than 0, right? So this is the upward gesture. So we do normalized speed is equal to math.min. Okay. We'll do 1, and then we do math.abs. We're going to do sensitive value. Okay, so this is for the up gesture. Now we're going to do one for the down gesture. We're going to do else if, and we're going to do sensitive value is greater than 0. Okay, then what we do is we say normalized speed is equal to minus math.min 1, and we're going to do sensitive value like that. And then finally we're going to come here, we're going to do set speed, and that's going to be the normalized speed like that. So this is basically updating the speed. We're gonna, I don't know if we have a use effect for this, probably not. We're gonna have that so that when this changes, then we send the command off to the RC, whatever car or robot, whatever you have it. Okay, so this is the down gesture. Let me see. So this is the down gesture, and then this is the upward gesture. Okay, so when you go down, we want to send like a negative value so you can go in reverse. So that's why we append the minus sign to that. Okay, so this is for the, let's see, speed. Now we need one for the direction. So I'm going to copy this one, and it's kind of similar, but not too much. I think I jumped. We'll just need a couple of changes here. So I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to save it. So there you go. It's coming here. Now you can see it's like this. So we need to change this. So the first thing we can do is, of course, change the comment. We're going to do steering. And then for this one, the label, what I can do is I can say steering, and this will be horizontal. I can do horizontal. Okay, I'm gonna save this one. I think I should change this one. This should be capital S. Save it. There you go. Okay, so this one is horizontal. So just by adding this horizontal, you see how we have this flexibility. This can go like this. This can go like that. But we need to now capture this for left and right. So what we can do is we can basically keep the same. So raw value is, in this case, it will be x over 50 because we're going the x direction. We do the same thing, method absolute. And if it's less than the dead zone, then we do set steering, okay, because that's for steering. And then what we have is the sensitive value. Sensitive value is raw value into sensitivity, okay. And then what we need is, we don't need this one, but what we can do is we're going to do like this const, okay, and we're going to do clamp steering is equal to math.max, and then we're going to do -1, okay, math.min, and then we're going to do sensitive value. And then what you do here is we're going to do steering, and this will be the clamped steering like that. So what this basically does is this is going to clamp the value between -1 and +1 so that you don't go out of bounds. Okay, so now that we have that, I think what we need is some sort of a use effect or effect hook that when these values change, we can do something with this. So I can do use effect from React. Okay, and then this will be triggered, okay, every time the speed changes or the steering changes or when we connect, have a valid connection. Okay, so why is this thing? Okay, so what we can do is we can do if is connected, if we are connected. So first of all, what we can do is we can get a connection service. And remember how we created that singleton, so we will always get the same connection, say instance. So I can do get instance. One thing probably we could have done is, let me see in the context, I think we are initializing this connection service. So I wonder if we can also provide this. Let's see. Yeah, you could actually do that. You could provide this, expose this here, and then you can use it here, but we can just do it this way, it doesn't matter. And then I can do connection service dot send command. Send command, we can send a command. We want to send speed and steering like that. And let's just actually, for good measures, console log this and see what are we getting. So RC command, so speed. Okay, so we have speed, so I'm going to do speed dot value. Okay, sorry, speed dot to fixed. Okay, we're gonna print this one, and also I'll do steering, and then this is going to be steering dot to fixed to. Okay, so let's see. So I think initially what I will do is I'm going to comment this because we're not connecting to anything yet, but we will see what do we get in the thing. So if I do speed, do I get anything? I don't get anything. Let me just do a reload. Okay, so let's see. Okay, interesting. Okay, so one thing I have is, I think I realized I have this is connected. For now, I'm just going to set this to 1, like true, so that, yeah, there you go. So now initially they're at rest. So let's see if I do speed. Oh yeah, see how accurate it is? Like, so this is going like reverse. This is like going in the positive. And then if I do steering, I'm going left, I'm going right. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's nice. I'm gonna undo this. Okay, so now these values will be sent to the, to whatever you have. You can send anything this way, and then that entity can act on it. And we are just clamping it to see, as you guys can see, we're clamping between -1 and +1. So I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so exciting, exciting. Okay, so now I think what we can do is maybe add the, let's see, the control indicators for here, and let's tackle that. So for this one, will be pretty easy. So I can come over here to components, I can create a new file, we can call it control indicators.tsx, like that, and we can do like this, and I can save it. Okay, so what we can do here is we need some props, so we can create an interface like how we have been doing, and then I can do control indicators props. Did I spell this right? Control indicators props. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what we need is a speed number and steering. That's going to be a number. Okay, so now that we have that, then we can immediately come here and then do like this. And then I can come here, I can do speed and steering. Nice. Okay, so what we need here is, we don't need anything here. I mean, any state, but we can create a view, and this is going to come from React Native. We create a view here. Okay, we need a couple of styles, so I'm gonna bring this from my notes. But what we have is this. We have, first of all, we need to fix this one. So what we have is an indicator row. So this is like the row you will see where we basically it's just a row, honestly. Flex space between, and that's all. Steering indicator, another row. We have a speed indicator. So it's like kind of what you have in your web development. You have divs. Views are kind of like, I think, same story. Then we have an arrow, and then active arrow. Active arrow just has like highlighted color, and then steering label and speed label. That's all. Okay, so what I can do is, to this one, I'm gonna probably bring this here, and I can maybe give it a style. So I can do style is equal to, and it's going to be styles dot indicator row, like that. I think we should use it so that we can actually see what we are cooking. So I'm going to close joystick, we don't need that. And what I can do is go to index.tsx, and so here is our joysticks. I can minimize this one, and let's see, where can we use this. So I can probably come above this one, and we can use it here. So we can do control indicators, and we need to give it speed, so that will be speed, and steering will be steering, like that. So let's do like this, and let's save this one. And of course we're gonna have a lot of issues, but don't worry about it, we'll fix it. Let me just even see what they are. Okay, so if I scroll down, down, da 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 da. Okay, text string. Okay, yeah, we have this text string. That's fine. So what I can do is, let me minimize this one. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna save it. Hopefully, yep, the error went away. So first we need the speed indicator. So I'm going to do a view, and I'm going to give it a style. And the style for this one will be styles dot, it's going to be speed indicator, like so. And then what we can do is create another view. It's going to be a lot of views, guys. And it's going to be a style. So this one is going to be an array like that. And we're going to have a styles dot arrow like that. And then we're going to have a speed is greater than 0.1. Then we're going to apply this style. Styles, basically, if there's an action happening, then you do the active one, active arrow. Okay. And then we can do like this. I can do a text from React Native. And then for this one, I'm going to do styles is equal to, and this will be again styles dot arrow text. So what I'll do is maybe I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to change a little bit. I'm going to paste it. And then what I will do is for this one, I think I'm going to do the arrow sign. But for now, let's leave that. What I want to do is I want to do arrow text. And then if speed is greater than 1, then we do arrow text, so active arrow text. Okay, so as you can see, it's right here. So we need to add the arrow sign. And for this one, I copied from online. Honestly, that's what I have. So it's an up arrow. So if I basically do this, you see what I'm saying? This is what happens. So it's like telling us kind of nice futuristic kind of UI, I guess. Okay, and then what we need is after this view, then I can add another text. Okay, and this one will say speed. Okay, and of course we need to give it some styles. So what I can do, I can say style is equal to, it's going to be styles dot speed label. Okay, I'm going to save this one, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay, and then we need another view, and for this one, what we can do, literally just copy this one after I close this. And let me see if I can put this here. So of course we need to change this one. So for this one, what I can do is if it is less than minus 0.1, right? So we're going down. And then for this one, I'll do the same. I'll do minus. Okay, let me save it. So this is going up, it's going down. Okay, this arrow is pointing the wrong way. So I think we need to put in the right arrow. Oh, like so. So speed up, speed down. Woo, 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 woo. Okay, I'm just getting excited, guys. Sorry. Okay, so that this is for the speed. Now we need one for the steering. So I'm going to do steering. And imagine like you can just create like a robot and you just enhance this, and you can create like so cool UIs and controlling an actual hardware with an app. I think this is pretty intense. Okay, so view style for this one will be equal to styles dot, and for this one what we need is the steering indicator. Okay, and then we do the same, we create another style, and then the style will be, it's an array. It's kind of the same idea what we did above. Styles dot, so this one will be arrow. Okay, and then steering, if it is greater than, well, and this one we do minus 0.1. If it's less than minus 0.1, then what we do style dot arrow active arrow. Okay, like that. And then we do text. Okay, style, so it's the same idea. We do basically styles dot arrow text. Okay, and then steering, if it is less than minus 0.1, and we do styles dot active arrow text, like that. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna copy the arrow that I got. So this one is, we save it, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay, and then what we can do is also, so I'm gonna take this label right here. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna do steering. I don't know if it should be all caps or not, but I'm just gonna put it this way. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna come say here, and let's see. So for this one, I'm gonna do, so for right direction, I'm gonna do the opposite of steering. We can do this and then that. Okay, I'm gonna save this and see what happens. So I'm going left, I'm going right, da, 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 and then up, down. So let me rotate the screen. You guys can see what's going on. So this is speed, and this is your steering. Very nice. Okay, so let's go back to here, like that. Okay, so now that we have the controls done, I can close this one. Okay, now the controls are done, so we can close this and we can come back to here. So we got controls, we got our joystick, and things are looking pretty good. So now what we can do is we need to have that indicator for speed, the kind of like how cars have it, like a modern one. So I think we're going to do that. So what we have here is, I think we should label this a little bit so to make it easier for us. So this one is the header. Okay, so then I can minimize this one. So that's our header, and then what we can do is after the header, I can have, let's see, so I can create another view. I'm going to give it a style, and I can do style.content like this, and then I can create a text. Okay, and then the style, I'm going to give it a styles dot, it's going to be, say, title. Okay, so this is the title of the app, so it's going to be RC remote app. I'm going to save this one, and boom, that's coming like this. Okay, so currently it's kind of, you can say, cut off, but we're going to fix it. That's fine. Okay, so now what we need is also, I think I have a font that I use, so I'm going to show you guys how you can use your own custom font. So you can just go online, get the Google fonts, honestly. So I'm going to come to assets. I'm going to paste it here. We don't need all these images, by the way, but you can keep it. Anyway, so I just went online, and then the font I went for, so space mono regular, and I got the TTF file. So this is the font I'll be using. So what I can do is I can close this one. So to use the font, you can go over to your layout.tsx file, which is right here. And then after the color scheme, what we can do is we can do like this const, and we can do loaded. Okay, loaded is equal to, and then I can do use. Okay, I can do const loaded, and I can do use fonts. Okay, so we don't have use fonts. Okay, I can do import, I can do use fonts, and then this one is coming from expo font, so I can do from expo and font like that. So then I can do fonts like that. Yep. And then you want to give it the path to your, where your paths, I mean your fonts are, and you want to give it a name. So I can do space mono, and it's going to require, okay, and then it's where it's the assets and fonts, and you want to give it the complete name. So space dash, let me see, what was it, space, I'm actually going to copy this one, and then we can come over here and I can paste it, and don't forget the extension TTF. Okay, so this will be our font. So what we can do is we want to wait for the fonts to load. So I can do if not loaded. Okay, then we just return null. So we want to wait for the fonts to load before we can do anything. So let me save this one. And of course there's errors. So let's see what errors are we getting. If I come over here, okay, so it's saying, okay, space mono require dot dot. Okay, why is it complaining about this one? Okay, so I think the font is under, let me see. Oh, okay, so as you can see, the font is under images. So I'm going to drag it under the assets, and let's see if that fixes our issue. So I'm going to do a reload, because sometimes this happens. We can just crash it, I mean just close it and reboot it. And let's see if I do a reload again. Yeah, it has this issue sometimes. Okay, let's do a reload again. Oh boy. Okay, I had to reload the I had to reload, kill the simulator and reload it. I don't know, sometimes this happens, but yeah, you can just kill the simulator and reload it. Anyway, so we're back in action, and as you can see now, the font has changed. So this is that space mono whatever font. Okay, so I can close this one now, and now we can move on to the speed dial here. So what we can do is close this here, and then I can come here to components, and I can create a new file, and this will be speedometer.tsx like that. And then we can quickly create the speedometer, and boom, we're done. So then what this will take is this will take only one argument, and that is speed, and which is of type number like that. Actually no, so what we can do is I can come here and I can do speed is a number like that. Okay, so then I can come here, save this one, and maybe we can just use it so we can see the changes happening. So I can come over to my app, then we can come to index, and let's see where we added the RC remote app. I think we can add it here. So I can do speedometer, and then speed is equal to speed, and like that. So let me save it, and of course nothing's gonna happen. We're gonna fix it. So let's come over to speedometer, and then it's going to have a couple of, I guess, properties. So what we can do, we can do const. So absolute speed is equal to math dot minimum. We're going to do that. We're going to do one, and then math dot abs speed. Okay, so this will be our absolute speed, and then we need the sweep angle. So we can do like this, sweep angle, and then this will be abs speed, absolute speed, times 180. So remember, we go from 0 to 180 degrees. That's how usually speedometers are. So, and then what we also need is the speed value. So we can do speed value, and that will be equal to absolute speed. We're just going to do times 100. So let's say that's our max speed. Okay, so one, we also need then a kind of color that changes based on, the speed value. So you know how in the modern cars they have it. That's what I'm trying to do here. So we can do like this: get sweep color is equal to. Okay, so we can do like this: if speed value. Okay, if speed value is less than or equal to 30. So let's say if we're going at 30 kilometers, then I can return this green one. So it's going to be 00FF41. Okay, and then we can do like this: if speed value is less than or equal to 60, then basically we return this kind of orange. We can do FF hash FF, and this will be 9800. Otherwise, we basically return like red. So that means you're going really fast. You can do FF, and this will be 38, and it's going to be 30. Okay, so this is like going really fast. Okay, so let me see if we can do this. Okay, so this is the sweep color, and then what we need also is we're going to do the markings. This will be an empty array, and then const, and these are the numbers. So remember how the numbers is on speedometer, that's what we have. Okay, I think one thing I see this giving errors, that because we probably are using a div, and this thing doesn't know what a div is. So I'm going to do view, and of course going to complain about this one. I'm going to also remove that, and boom. Okay, so let's see if I come here and do a reboot. Okay, so now the errors are gone. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring in the styles. So the styles are pretty much just CSS, and let's see. So go to the top. Okay, so first of all, let's close this one. I'm going to do style sheet, and boom, done. Okay, so we have the speedometer container. That's the container, outer container. Then we have the dial, which is the semicircle. And guess for this one, I'm not going to lie, I had to use a AI for this to generate this speedometer, because this is what AI excels at, so it saves you time. And that's why I kind of left some notes here for me to actually, in case I want to change this. But what it is, this is the dial. Okay, and then as I add them, you guys will see it. This is the green zone for the speed, and we have a yellow zone, and then the red zone. And then we have the major markings, the big markings, and we have the minor small ticks. And this for the markings, you want to be position them absolute. Okay, and then we have the numbers on the dials, and then this speed sweep. So this is the gradient arc. Okay, and then we create a mask to create the sweep effect. Remember, when you will see as the needle moves, it kind of leaves like this nice glow behind it. That's what it is. Then the center dot, and then the speed text in the center of the dial. So that's what the styles are. Okay, so now we can get cracking, and then we can come over here. And what I can do is we need to create the markings and for the speedometer. So for that one, let's just use a simple for loop, and we're going to do I is less than or equal to 10 and I plus plus. Okay, so what we do is we start with a mark angle, and then the mark angle will be I into, say, 18. Okay, so 18, right? 18 times 10 is 180, and that's what we're going for. So we're kind of basically putting a mark at every 18 degrees. Okay, and then you put 10, so that's 180. Okay, so then what we do is we do a const speed value, and then the speed value will be I into 10. Okay, so again, remember the maximum speed will be 100, right? So 10 times 10 is 100, and that's what we have here. So if you change these things, make sure you also change these. Okay, so now that we have that, then what we can also do is we can do a const step. Step is equal to math.py. Okay, we're going to do divided by 10. Okay, so we're taking steps, and then we can do angle is equal to math.pi and then plus I, okay, into step. So you kind of like then go move that much, and then that's the next step. That's what we're trying to do here, to move up. Okay, then finally we need to give it an angle. So I can do const angle degrees equal to math dot round, and we're going to do angle into 180 degrees. Okay, and then it's going to be math dot pi, and then this will be plus 90 degrees. So as you put these ticks, remember they're going to turn a little bit. You can't have them at one angle, so that's why we're doing it this way. And then finally we can do markings. Didn't we say markings? Should be markings. Okay, so we can do markings dot push. We're going to push all these into this array. Okay, and I can do view. Okay, and then for this one, key will be equal to, okay, so this will be marking or mark dash dash, and it's going to be dollar. We're going to give everyone a key so that it doesn't complain, and we're going to give it a style. For the style, I'm going to do, it's going to be an array, and then it's going to be basically styles dot marking. Okay, and then we can do like this, and I can do left is equal to 150 plus, so these are the numbers I had to play around with, and I found these numbers to be working really well. It's going to be cosine angle. Okay, and then we can do minus 1.5. Okay, so this one is for like, because the marking was coming or a little bit small, so I had to add this to make them a little bit bigger. That's why I did that. Okay, and then top, so from the top I'm going to do 150, and it's going to be plus 140, and then times math.sine angle. We can do angle. Okay, then minus 12.5. Okay, and then finally we have the transform. Okay, the transform is actually rotate. You want to rotate these? I'm going to do like this, and it's going to be angle, degree. Man, I keep hitting the wrong keys. Okay, it's going to be angle, degrees, and degrees. Okay, so then what I can do is, I think we can close this one like that. Okay, so after the style, what we have is I think I did. After the style, I can come over here and add one more, and then this one will be I modulus 2. So if we are even, okay, then I can do styles dot major marking, otherwise styles dot minor marking. So every even, basically you can say, let me see, every even position we're putting the major marking, otherwise put the minor marking. Okay, so it looks like we have some sort of an issue, and that's probably because this should be, I think, here. Okay, and then I can close this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's see. So I can take this and here. Okay, I'm going to save this one. So this for the markings. Okay, so now same idea. We also need to, so these are our ticks, but we also need to put the what do you call it, the numbers, right? We want to see the numbers. So for that one, I'm just going to take it from my notes, but it's the same idea, and I'll explain it. And let me just come here, and then we do text. Okay, like that. So I'm going to save this one, but the idea same, is that we get the angle, and then what we have is the, remember I said I have to play around with these numbers, but we do the same. We create the text. Okay, and we kind of just like position it at the right place, and these numbers again I had to play around with to put in the right location. That's all. So it was a lot of experimentation. Okay, so now that we have this one, then we can come over here to style and actually start using this. So I can do style is equal to, and this will be styles dot, so this will be speedometer container. So first we create the container. Okay, and then what we do after that is create another view, and that's going to be style is equal to styles dot dial. We create a dial. Okay, and let me just save it. Boom. So that's what I'm talking about. This is the dial. Okay, and then what we do after that is we create the green zone, and then we also, okay, so it's creating the other one, but we don't want that yet. So I'm going to save this one. Here's the green zone. Okay, and then I'm going to escape this. Okay, and then what we do is over here, I can do like this. If ABSP, okay, after the green zone, then what I can do is I can do like this. If absolute speed is greater than 0, okay, then I can come here, and then what I can do is I can basically create a view, okay, and then I can give it a style, and that style will be an array like that. Let me close this one. Okay, and let's see, why is this guy complaining? So I think I did it the wrong way. This should be like this, and then this should be like this, like that. Okay, so now that we have that, so what we can do, we can do like this, styles dot, this will be speed sweep, okay, and then what we can do is we can say border color. The border color is good, sweep color, and then we also need a nice like glow, and that's like the shadow color. So it's going to get sweep color like so. So I'm going to save this one, see if I do the speed. Yeah, you see how this kind of forming? That's what we're trying after. If I go higher, 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 that's what's happening. Okay, so this is for the absolute speed. So what I can do is I can do like this. I close this off a little earlier, and then we can do like this one. Okay, so then what we have inside of this one, I have another view. Okay, and this will be self-closing one. And then what I can put inside of here, I can do style is equal to, and this will be again an array, and this will be styles dot, so this will be sweep mask, okay, and then also transform, and then for the transform we can do rotate, okay, and this one I'm going to sweep angle, okay, and it's going to be degrees. So let me save this one and see if I go up, boom, this is what I'm talking about. So this is the what do you call it, the sweep, right? As you can see, it's leaving that nice shadow behind, and as I go up it changes color. So that's the get sweep color working, the shadows working, and as we go do, pretty cool. And then this is me going in reverse. It's kind of same idea, pretty nice, isn't it? Okay, and then what we can do is I'm going to bring this here. Just leave it. Okay, after this one I can create the markings. Okay, since we already did the array here, so we can actually use it. And then after the markings, what we need is the numbers. We can add those. There you go. So this is our speed. Okay, and then also maybe we can add like text for the theme, for the speed value, the kilometer per hour or something. Okay, so I'm going to do theme text. Okay, we're going to give it a style, and the style will be styles dot, so this is going to be speed text. Okay, and then what we can do is we can do like this, we can do absolute speed, okay, times 100. Okay, let me close this one and do that. Let me save it. So if I go up, boom, as you can see, so this is happening. So I think what we should do is maybe we can do that to fixed, and I'm going to do 0. Let's save it and see what happens. Oh yes. Okay, I think we can also add like say kilometer per hour, see what happens. Boom, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's going fast. Okay, so this is that, and finally we need to add that dot, that like right here, that a lot of speedometers have. So I can do view, and style will be equal to styles dot, and it's going to be center. Woo, let's see what happens. Boom, this is your dot. Okay, so now let's do this, and then, well, nothing's going to happen with this one, but this is that. Okay, so now we have the speedometer also working, and we have the, what do you call it? Let me do this. Okay, so this is your speedometer, and then here's your steering. There's one issue with this one that we need to fix, and so let's see how we can fix this one. So I think if we go back here, it's right here. Okay, so one thing I see is, let me close this one, is, I don't know, see if we can, if I come here and if I remove the safe area thing, okay, the app is a little bit more better, because remember how if I keep this, you see how it's kind of bleeding into this one. I think that will take care of this one. So what happened? Okay, so maybe here, so what I do is if I actually remove, I mean, you can do from the right side. Let's see what that does. So that just pushes it off from this side, so maybe that's better. We don't want it to kind of be butting against this one. Or the other thing you can do is just completely remove it. So I think it's all edges, then it's kind of like better now. Okay, so that's for that one. And then, but our text basically disappeared. So if I come to here, the title, and then I don't know if I can change this to say 12. Yeah, it kind of pushes the text out. So let me see how can I fix this one. What? Okay, so what I had to do is basically just come and play around with these values. So I changed the margin bottom. I think initially I had 20 or something. I changed it to 0, and margin top I changed it to 10, and then reduced the font size so that I can see the text anyway. So it's not important, but just want to show you guys. Okay, so now that we have this done, and we can actually, let me see, we can actually basically now send these commands over to a microcontroller. I think we're going to jump over and start with the microcontroller side to finish that coding. Okay, so now we can start the Arduino code. And if you don't know Arduino, it's a very popular, you know what, I'm sure you know about it. But just Google Arduino, download the IDE, super straightforward, and you can just launch it like this. We need to install a couple of libraries before we get started to parse JSON for the ESP hardware and all that. So you can come over here and in the search bar type Arduino JSON, and then this is the library you want. So this is for parsing the JSON, I guess. So you can hit install. Okay, and the next library you want to install is the WebSockets, and that's called Arduino. Let's see, WebSockets. That's the one. I'm going to install this one. Okay, so now that we have these libraries installed, we can close this one, and then we can get cracking. So first thing we can do is I can import the Arduino, and then it's going to be json.h. So I mean, if you have done C programming, which I don't know if most of you have done, but that's the header file that you kind of bring in, kind of how you do like in here we do say like import, kind of doing the same thing. So we're importing stuff. Let me close this one. So we're kind of importing the Arduino JSON H file. Okay, the other thing we need to include is the ESP8266 web server.h. Okay, then the other one we need is the WebSocket. So I'm going to do include, and then this will be the Arduino web. It's going to be sockets.h. Okay, so now that we have included these, we're going to start using the namespace, and then this will be WebSocket. So by doing the namespace like this, we can start utilizing this later on in the code. Okay, then you want to connect your ESP device to your local network. If you're using Bluetooth, then well, you don't have to do that, but that's a different tutorial. For now, we're going to be using the connecting this to Wi-Fi and through like that. So for that, I'm going to define a const. It's going to be a char, and then this is a pointer. So I mean, if you know C, you will know this, but if you don't, just it's a pointer. That's what it's called. Okay, and then we're going to define the SSID. Of course, I'm not going to type my SSID, but I'm going to say add your SSID here. Okay, and then also we need a const char, and this is your password. Okay, and then this will be your Wi-Fi password. Now if you're uploading this code to GitHub, I'm going to warn you, make sure you remove these. So yeah, don't upload it with these things on. Okay, so now that we have this one, we're going to define a couple of like constants or defined. You can say global. I'm going to do a define. Okay, and this will be called command threshold, and then this is 5. And we need another define. Then this one is called a command accept delay, and then this is 150. And then finally we need another one, and this one is okay. So this will be web. It's going to be server port. So I think we said, remember it was in the code that we did. If I come back here and let's see in the service, so we were on port 81. So maybe we can just use that port. So it's going to be 81. Okay, so now that we have these defined, so what we can do is create an instance of the server and the client. And the way we can do this is we can say web, I can do sockets server. We want to create a server, and then we can do web sockets. You can do client, and it's going to be client. Okay, so these are defined, and then finally we can do a static. It's going to be JSON document, or I'm gonna just set it to 80. 80 is like the amount of characters, I guess. So one thing you need to be careful with microcontroller is you're limited on memory, like space, I guess. So you're gonna be careful in how much you use. If you don't need too much, then well, don't use it. So I'm gonna say 80 is good because we need speed as value and then the steering is value. Okay, so that I'm gonna say dock. Okay, so let's move on. And now what we need is we need to define the pins that the motor will be connected to. The two motors, right? So we have two motors. So we want to connect it. We want to define the pins here. So I can do like this: motor one, and then we can have motor two. Okay, so I can do const int, and this will be motor steering right pin. Okay, so this is connected to pin number 5. Okay, and I'm going to put in comma here, in comments here, the pin that's on the actual hardware. So we're calling it 5, but actually if you look on the pin itself, it says D1. So I just want to, it's a mental note for me. Okay, and then another one we need is a const int, and this will be motor steering. Okay, a left pin. And then this one is pin number 4. This is going to D2. And finally, const int motor steering enable pin. Okay, and then this one is going to pin number 0, and then it's actually D3. Okay, so this is motor number 1. Then so this one motor is for steering, and then we have another motor for the speed. So I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste this here, and I'm going to do speed. Actually, we need to do this. So it's going to be speed forward pin. This is going to pin number 14, and then it's actually D5. Then this one is the speed, and this will be the speed reverse pin. This one is going to 12. Okay, and this one is actually D6. And then what we have here is the motor speed enable pin, and then that one is going to pin number 13, like that, and then it's actually D7. So okay, so now that we have defined the motor and the speed and all that, I think it'll be a good time to save this. So now we're going to come over here in the setup. So the setup is something that will run when you power up your device. So you want to put any initialization code in here. Okay, so what I can do is I can do pin mode. Okay, and then the pin mode is LED. So there's a built-in LED, and we're going to set this to output. Built-in. Okay, did I spell this right? I always spell this wrong. ILT built-in. It's going to be output. Okay, and then pin mode. So for the motor steering right pin, so that's actually motor steering right pin. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to make this output. So the thing with these pins are, these are input and output. I think they're called GPIOs, general purpose input output pins. So you want to set them in the right, for the right I guess direction. So we're just outputting stuff. Okay, so then I need to copy this one a couple of times, here, here, here. Okay, so then for the next one I need the left pin. I'm going to do left pin, and then we need the enable pin, so I'm going to do the enable pin. And then we need for the speed forward pin, and then you can just come over here, do this, and I need the reverse pin. I can do the reverse pin, and then the enable pin, and then the enable pin. Cool. So these are your what do you call it, the pins. Okay, and then we want to set the analog clock. So at what speed we want to run the microcontroller. So I'm going to set it to 31,250. So this is the, so it's basically what we're saying is run at a frequency of 31 megahertz. Okay, and then also we want to do a serial monitor. So I can do serial dot, we can do begin. Okay, and we want to run at a baud rate. So at what speed we want to run the serial monitor? It's going to be 115,200. Okay, let me scroll up. Okay, and then we're going to wait for 10 millisecond, and then after that we're just going to write like blank lines, print ln, like that. So I'm going to copy this one and paste it like that. Okay, so at this point what you want to do is you want to connect to your Wi-Fi. Okay, so the way we can do this is we can come over here and I can do like this, serial.println. You can do connecting to. Okay, what the reason why I want to do this is you want to capture the IP address so that when you fire it up, you can actually see it. Okay, so then I can do like this serial.println. I'm going to print the SSID. Okay, and then here you can do like this Wi-Fi dot begin. Okay, and then you want to basically connect at the to this SSID using the password that we remember we set up here at the top. Okay, so now that we have that, and then what you want to do is you want to wait for the connection to finish, right? You don't want to just start the thing. So what I can do is I can do while Wi-Fi dot status does not equal to Wi-Fi connected. So if we are not connected, then just wait. Okay, we're gonna wait for half a second. Okay, and then serial dot print. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to just wait in this loop until this changes to connected. If and it's just going to keep printing like these dots like this. That's what it's trying to do. Okay, so then we can come over here. So let's say you get connected, that means you're going to jump into the next one. So we can do like this serial dot println. I can do connected. Okay, that means we got connected. And what you want to do is you want to basically just print the IP address. So I can do serial dot print. Okay, and then we can do basically Wi-Fi dot local IP. So once you get connected, this is going to print the local IP address that you can then punch into here and then hit connect. Hopefully things will work out. Okay, so then what we can do server listen. Okay, we want to listen on port 81 because that's the port, remember, we set up in the app, if you guys remember. Okay, so we start listening on port 81 for any incoming connection, and then we can do like serial.print, and we can do server.aval. Okay, so this will basically print, I think, true or false, I don't remember, but we want to see if the server is available or not. So that's the idea. When we get connected, we print the IP address, we start listening on the port 81 for any incoming connections, and then we say, server available. So at this point, maybe what you can do is, remember how we have that LED, you can do like this digital write. Okay, LED, and it's going to be built in. We're going to set it to high. So we want to set it to high so that we know, okay, everything is ready, we got the IP address, things are in good shape, and that means we have made it this far. So that's why we're doing it this way. Okay, so then we have this loop. So once the initialization is finished, right, then the microcontroller kind of jump into this loop, and it's going to keep running in this one. So this is where we can just get the commands and all that. So what you want to do is this. You're going to do like this. While server dot, so if we have something available, right? Okay. So what it's trying to do is, while the server is alive, actually, that's what it's trying to do. If while the server is alive, and we do like this, if server dot poll. Okay, so see if there's a client. That's what it's trying to do. See if there is a client. Okay, so if there's a client, so what the server does is just keeps polling. Has anyone connected to me? Is anyone trying to talk to me? That's what it's trying to do. So what it can do is can do like this: client is equal to server dot accept. We're just gonna go ahead and accept that client, and we can do like this. We can say client connected. So this is where when you hit the connect button, it's going to basically accept it, and it's going to print client connected. That's what it is. And then what you want to do is start processing the messages, right? So we can do on message, and then this will be on message. So what is on message? This is a function that we need to create. We're going to get to it, but let's finish this one. And then after this one, what you want to do is see if the client disconnected, right? So if not, client dot, if client is not available, so the client is connected, for some reason you just like quit the app or something, then we can do like, you want to be nice and release the memory, so we can do like this client dot close, and then we can do close reason, and we can do close reason, okay, underscore normal closure. Okay, so that's what we just say, what, things went smooth, nothing to worry about. And then you can do like start polling again, client.poll, and you just want to give it a delay. So every 100 millisecond, we basically just look outside if there's anyone trying to connect to us and all that. Okay, so now let's get to this on message. So what you want to do is, I'm going to minimize this one, and I can come here, And then I can do like this. So I can say void on message. So the first argument is the client. So it's going to be passed to us. You don't have to pass it. So we're going to do WebSocket client. Okay. And this is the ampersand. So this is called a, I think there's a name for this one. So remember how we had a dereferencing? I think that's what it's called, if I remember from my C days. But anyway, so I'm going to do client, and then we can do sockets message, the message that we get. So the client that's sending us the message, that's what it is. Okay, so first thing we do is we're going to do string message is equal to message.data. Okay, we get the message, then we do dynamic JSON document. Okay, and doc, and I can do 128 bytes. Okay, the semicolon is important, by the way. If you don't, it's going to error out. Okay, and then what you want to do is deserialization error. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to deserialize the JSON basically. So deserial, I can type this. So I'm going to copy and paste it. It's a long word. Okay, so we're going to do error is equal to deserialize JSON, and then it's going to be JSON doc and message. So deserialize the 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 message into this document. That's what we're trying to say. Okay, if we have an error, right, for some reason we couldn't, deserialize it, we can do print. Okay, and then you can do like this, and I can say deserialize JSON failed, and copy this one, and I can say failed like that, and then we can do return. You want to just return from here. The other thing I would also like to add here is you can do like this, here.println, and then you can do error dot c string. So you probably want to maybe print maybe a detailed error message to kind of see like what happened. So this, I think, captures the last error. I think so. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's say if we were able to deserialize the JSON, then we can get the speed and the steering value. So I can do float, and I can do speed value is equal to JSON doc. Okay, from here just fun stuff. I can do speed. Okay, and then as, and I can do float. We can parse it to float, and then float, and I can do steering value equal to JSON doc, and this will be steering as float, like that. So we grab the two values, and then motor speed to map. Okay, so now remember the values are from, we're trying to map these values to 0 to 255. So the way we're going to do is we're going to use the map function, and I'm going to do the absolute value, and I'm going to do int speed value into 100. So remember, the values coming are from -1 to +1. That's what's coming from the app. Okay, so we're going to map it to 0 to 55. So I can do like this, 0 to 100. I can then map it to 0 to 255. Okay, so now we're going to drive the motors. So we can do like this, if speed value, okay, the speed value is greater than 0, that means we're going in forward direction. So I can do digital right. It's going to be motor speed forward pin, and it's going to be high. Okay, and then we can do digital right. I can do motor speed reverse pin is going to be low. So what we're trying to do is we set the forward pin to high and the reverse pin to low, because we're going in the forward direction. And now you're going to write the value to it. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to do the analog write. So analog write, because it's a PWM, so it's like you want to slowly increase the speed. So I can do motor speed, and then it's going to be enable pin, and we're going to do motor speed like that. Okay, so that's for this one. Then I'm going to do else if. So now if speed is less than 0, so you kind of reverse your thing. We're going to do, if it's less than 0, then you come here, and then what I can do is I can copy this one, and it's literally just the opposite. What I mean by that is you do like this, you do low, you do high, and then you just basically write the value. So it's going to go in the reverse direction. I'm going to save this one, and then finally also we need for the steering. So this is for speed. Let me just comment this, And then here I can do steering. Okay, so for steering I can do like this. If steering value is greater than 0, then we do one thing. Else if steering, let's see, too many e's. If it is less than 0, then we do something else. Okay, so what do we do in here? I'm going to copy this one, and then we can come over here. Okay, so for this one, this will be the motor steering right pin. Okay, and then this will be the motor steering left pin. Okay, and then we need the enable pin, so that's the enable pin. And then instead of the motor speed, what you want to do, take the absolute value, steering value, and we're just going to times it by 255. Okay, so that's this value. Okay, and then here, the exact same thing, but like as I said before, we're just kind of reversing this. So I'm going to do low, high, and then the same thing, enable pin will be that. Otherwise, we straighten out the steering, right? So let's say I remove my fingers from the thing, it goes to, you want to be stuck in the left or right angle. So what we do is we come over here and we basically just set these to low, and we're gonna set this to 0. Let's see, like this. Okay, and finally you want to send back something to the client. So you can do client dot send. We're going to do echo. Okay, and we're going to do message dot data. We kind of just send them back what they sent to us. Okay, so this is the code for your microcontroller. Let's compile it. Okay, so it says no board selected. Let's see. Okay, so I had to actually move the code over to my Windows machine, as you can see, because Mac was having issues with the drivers. Anyway, so here is the code. And to select a board, what you can do is go to Tools and then go to, say, Boards, then go to Boards Manager, or you can actually just come here and then select your board. So once you actually select your board, this thing should be smart enough to pick it up. But because of the ports also, with the new Macs, they don't have the traditional USB ports. Anyway, so once you select your board, it should be able to pick it up. So you can just come over here and select your board. And once you do that, let's compile the code. And before I do that, one thing I've also done is I've used this Pragma region credentials to hide the Wi-Fi username and password. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and now compile this. Okay, so as you can see, it's done compiling, and I still haven't connected the board, but at least we're not getting that error, and things are now looking good. So maybe what I can do at this point is connect the board, and then we can run this again. Okay, so now as you can see, it's trying to connect, and it's okay. So it got connected to the Wi-Fi. The server has started, and this is the IP address I can now connect this to, and the server is live. So okay, so now we can go to the simulator and see if we can punch in this IP address. So it's 10.0.0.53. I mean, technically we should connect. Okay, connected. Oh, there you go. So client connected, as you can see. So that means now we can send commands, but I'm not going to send commands here because the motor is connected through my USB port, and I think it will damage probably my USB port because it will try to suck out a lot of amps. So we might have to, I'm going to run the app on the actual phone, and then we can run it that way. So I'm going to disconnect, and I'll see you guys there. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to connect the circuit before we actually just go and do the actual hookup. So here is the battery, and then here is the two DC motors, and here is the microcontroller. So what I have done is I've used like 12 volts. You can probably use 5 volts, and I've used an external power because, as I said, if you connect to USB, it might damage the USB port. So that's why I want to be careful. So this is the L298N driver, motor driver, pretty common, pretty cheap. And this one is the Node MCU microcontroller, also very cheap. So the first thing we do is you're going to come over here and connect the two motors. So you have these two pins. I think it's called M1, M2, M3, M4 something, but you can connect these to the DC motor. The polarity doesn't matter which way you connect. Okay, so then the other thing we do is we're going to come over here and connect the power. So here is your 12 volts. So this thing needs 12 volts. So yeah, so that's the reason why you need 12 volts, because this board needs 12 volt input. So you connect 12 volt, then you take your ground input, which is this pin, and you're going to connect that to the ground pin. So this thing will give you 5 volts output. So we take that 5-volt output, and then you can connect it to your microcontroller VN, and then the ground pin, that's this green one, you can connect that to the same pin as this ground one. So basically they all have same common ground. So now that that's done, then the rest is basically just connecting these pins. So I have labeled them here. So D1 goes to in one, so D1 right here. So this one goes to in one right here. So one thing you can see is that for the D3, right? And then for the D7, I didn't have these kind of jumper wires. And when you do this jumper connection, means they will be always on. So since I didn't have it, I did it through the code and I showed you guys. But just in case, if your board comes with these jumper wires, then just leave them like this. So then in that case, you only need to connect D1, D2, D5, and D6. But if you wanna do it the way I did it, that's also totally fine. So we then connect D2, D3, and it's pretty straightforward. Just run wires from here to here, from there to there, and it's just simple connection. So this is the circuit diagram, and now we can jump on to the actual live demo. Okay, so here I have the circuit hooked up. I have the two DC motors. Here is the motor driver, and then here is the microcontroller. And then I have the app here. I'll try to show both. And what I've done is I've already connected. I punch in the IP address, and you can see it's connected successfully. So now we can go ahead and do the steering first, or maybe the speed. Go for speed. I'm gonna go down. Okay, and now we can do the, let's see, the steering. So I can do the steering. That you can see that motor is a little bit quiet. There you go, you can hear it. So let me do the speed and this at the same time so we can see multi-touches working. So there you go, the app is actually working. I hope you guys enjoyed it, liked it, like and subscribe, and I can build more projects like these. Bye for now.